Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What's up, friends? Welcome back to the TV Terminal. My name is Adam Vale, Senior Editor over at The Coalition, and I'm joined by a very special guest, my brother, Joshua.
Hey guys, I'm Josh. I'm a writer for The Coalition. I'm excited to be here with my brother.
Yeah, and also no stranger to The Last of Us. You
Not at all.
completed this game. I completed this game, both games, and I'm bringing this up for full disclosure. Over at The Coalition, recently I reviewed The Last of Us Part 2 remastered for PC on the Steam Deck, performance review. Really good, worked great, everything was fine. Sent it over to Sony, they loved it. Reason why I'm bringing this up, Sony sent me a message back that they want to add my rating and info over in their marketing material. They have to get my approval. I approved, so yeah, go for it, why not? But I just want to bring that up because, as you see, we're covering this entire season. So just in case, if you see their promotional material and then you see whether sometimes they just say the Coalition and they give the score, sometimes they say the person's name and the site with the score. Either way, it's me. Just so you know, come clean. This is not a paid show or anything like that. Don't want to hear it. You'll be surprised. There's always somebody, bro, man, I saw this and I think this is paid off. You guys said all these great things and then I see your name in the ad. No. That's not what's happening here. We wanted to cover the show anyway. I was not expecting that email. So just wanted to clear that up. Get that out of the way.
It's good to get that out of the way first.
Yeah, getting that out of the way. And then also just to set some rules on how this is going to work. Yes, as I mentioned, I played the game. Josh played the game. We don't want to isolate people that have not played the game. I was like, hey, I just watched the show. Just talk about the show. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to talk about this episode, what happened. We will mention key parts of that were in the game that we just feel it's pretty cool that they just pretty much grabbed some of these scenes word for word.
Scene for scene.
Yeah, scene for scene. Fantastic. Some of these, and we'll get to that when it happens. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just want to let everybody know that we're on the same page here. We're not going to jump ahead. We're not going to say, well, this happened here and this wasn't there and da 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 da. No, don't want to confuse things. We're just focusing on this one
episode.
Yep. And also, thanks to, you will see some slides, some stills, thanks to HBO over on their press site. They provided a bunch, and I'll just bring one up right now. Boom. So in fact, I'll bring it up in a second though. Here we go. So this episode started just like how the game started, with Joel, with Ellie, and she's like, did everything you say really happen the way it did? And it was that straight face. I mean, we all knew it from the ending of the first game, and then even when the first season, when they showed, it's like, is he gonna lie? Is he gonna say the truth?
It's that promise, it's that promise that he's making Ellie, and you can see it in his eyes.
Yeah, exactly. The dude's just straight up lied. He straight up lied about the whole thing. All right, so yeah, you see a picture of Jesse for those watching over on YouTube. I just put this up for now because this is one of the first ones. I'll take it off just not to confuse anybody, but because that comes up in a second. It's just like, well, you just said Joel, and well, what's up with Jesse? But so anyway, that happened. It was a big moment. That's a big part of this whole story arc, and it comes in later on in this episode because that's a massive lie.
It's morality. Right? It comes down to
morality. Right? This was the whole thing. And this was always the question in the debate, what would you do? If you were in his situation, you lost your child, okay? You're fortunate enough to become the caretaker of another child. You have no other family. Then this happens. Yes, this person could be a possible cure for all that is happening here. Do you save this person because you find out that, oh, wait, in order to get the treatment, do the experiments, this person has to die? Or do you say, no, I need this person in my life?
Do you think it comes down to Joel not being 100% sure that this would even work?
That was a big part of it. That was a big part because he asked, and that was in the end of the first. He was like, is this definitely going to work? Well, we don't know, but we have to do it. And this is the only way we can run the test. We got to go into the brain and take some stuff out and do. And he just wasn't ready to let her go. He already lost his daughter. He just can't. And at this point, during that part, with all the traveling, he already had claimed her in a way, and he was the
She's his
caretaker.
purpose. She's his
Yeah,
purpose now for
the
even
whole
staying on
reason.
this
Yeah.
world.
But again, this all goes full circle. We're bringing this up not just to do a recap because a lot of these things pop up again. Also, remember, he had a dark past. He told her this. He was known for doing smuggling and doing things, bringing things into their community that were from the outside, from other ones. He's done some things, some bad things.
So
Okay.
it's like, is Joel the villain?
Yeah. All right. Just get that out of the way. Boom. We get another scene. It says 5 years later. Right. Well, right before we get that 5 years later, right, this is where we see, and I was surprised by this, and I think this is why even in my notes I was kind of shocked by this. We see Abby and the crew, and they had shown up, and they did the burial for the rest of the people that were at the location that got killed.
Yeah.
Thanks to Joel. And they're talking about, well, we can't stay here. We don't know what's going on. Let's go back. Let's go see Isaac. Let's go to Seattle, regroup. Abby, she's like, no, not happening. She was like, I gotta go get Joel. And then it was interesting. One of the guys was giving like a weird rundown description. Oh, well, they say he's a smuggler. He's handsome.
They
or
don't know
something.
his name. They're saying, they don't know his name
Yeah.
is Joel. They don't know this and that. But you could tell that Abby has one thing on her mind right now, and that's revenge. And
Oh, definitely revenge.
That's what's gonna fuel her, and that's what I think is gonna be a big thing in this as well. It's just her arc as well. Because so much of the first season, we obviously don't know a lot of other characters besides our main two, but this season hopefully expands a lot more in those characters.
Yeah, because for those who know, there's a lot of controversial things that happen, and that happened in this game, and a lot of people that played it were like, "How is the show going to depict these situations and these events?" And we'll find out. We're not spoiling anything. We're going to find out. But she takes the chain off. She puts it on one of the graves. They don't say who it is, but we know who it is. It's someone that's close to her. I'm not going to give too much away, but
very close to her.
someone very close to her has passed. I mean, we could pretty much, if you could just gather that from there, and then they head off. Then we get the 5 years. Now we're over at the community. This was the community
that Wyoming.
Yep, Wyoming. This was Tommy's crew. We all saw that in the first episode. Now they're established. They're here. Joel's part of the community. Of course, Ellie's part of it. Everything looks good. But then we have this. All right, we have that first scene where we see with Jesse. Because we see within a room, Ellie is fighting with someone. She gets him in a triangle, eventually into an arm bar. He taps. Jesse comes up and he's like, all right, good. This was all training. Yeah, and I figured it was training.
I'm glad that they put that in because there was a lot of questions, especially from like the last season, where it's like, how is Ellie going to progress as like physically? How is she going to, be the new Ellie that we know from the game? So in the game, Ellie has been through stuff, in those past 5 years. She's able to kind of handle her own a little more without Joel. So I like how they showed her, taking out a guy, doing some takedowns.
Well, yeah, she was doing some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I did DJJ for a while over the Henzo Gracie's in Midtown. But so I was like, oh, look at that, she's learning. And then the guy picked her up and slammed her down to break out of it, but then she did a nice transition. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool.
But then Jesse comes up and he says, like, he's pulling his punches.
That's a big no. She was against it. And I mean, that makes perfect sense, especially if you want to prepare yourself for the real world. Like in training, if anybody's ever trained in anything, when your trainer says, all right, we're going live means we're happening. This is it. There's no headgear. You're going to go take those punches, because if you plan on going pro and getting to that level, that's what you're going to feel.
Yeah.
Your opponent is not going to hold back. So she's upset by this. And he was like, oh, well, if he would have punched you in the face, he would have knocked you out.
Well, she's upset mostly because not only is he just holding his punches back, it's because Joel had requested,
Yeah. And I think that plays a big part of the issues that she's having with him.
It's a sense of control. It's a sense of like, I know he views her as a father, and she's like his daughter, but
yeah. Well, speaking of that, great transition. Yeah. Because we see Joel and he's fixing a device and he's taking things apart and doing the whole thing. And then Dina walks in And the reason why I say it's just a great transition because later on he had talked about how he sees Dina almost like a daughter figure, the way she's interacting with him. We'll get into more detail later on when she starts talking about hanging out and stuff. But she comes to pay Joel a visit while he's doing his little tinkering, trying to get things. She says she wants to learn, right? She's like, show me and explain. He talks about the voltics, the testing, and all this stuff. But she really, I'm not sure. You can tell me if you think, does she really care about learning, or is she just trying to ease into the conversation, figuring out why is Ellie mad at him? Because she just jumps into that. She's like, "Why?"
I think it's a tad of both, and maybe it'll come in handy at some point in the season. But definitely trying to figure out what's going on with Ellie and them, because obviously they came into the town so close. Everyone knows their story mostly, and it's just this idea of getting to Joel, and then as they're talking, it almost turns into a therapy session, and that's where you find out that Joel is actually seeing a therapist.
Mm-hmm. And we know therapist's name is Gail because she calls it out. She's like, "Are you in therapy? Are you seeing Gail?" So,
which I like that they added, because I like in the game, for those that play the game, like I don't think they had this kind of aspect of Joel really battling with certain things, at least that we could see. We assume, but
he had some stuff, but we're seeing a different side, and this is what we wanted, right? No one wants a 1-for-1 comparison with the game. That's no.
Don't want play the game then.
Exactly, go play the game.
Watch the YouTube walkthrough.
Exactly, like for those who know me and follow from the I Am Negan, I cover a Walking Dead podcast, and when we were doing the Mothership, which was following the comics, we were always looking for something that was different. We don't want it's like, oh yeah, this is issue 84. Go read that, and this is exactly what happened. No, you don't want that. You want different takes. You want twists and stuff. Tell more story on it.
Well, that brings up the age of questions. Like, do you want things to be completely down to the source material? Or do you want things to be embellished? I guess embellished, but not changed.
That's always the argument, especially with all the Marvel movies, right? It's not canon. It's not canon. It's like, do you really want everything canon?
I mean, you already know. Then you're no.
Yeah, if you're ready, if you go in knowing everything, what's the surprise? What's the fun in that?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. So anyway, she is trying to pick his brain, and he can't figure out what he did wrong. He says he doesn't know, but we're getting an idea of what it is, at least from our point. And it looks like he's just very overprotective.
Yeah,
and that's what's coming up with all.
Probably especially more now than before.
Yeah. So we see another scene where now Joel goes to visit to Maria. Maria is Tommy's wife. Both of them are pretty much part of the community part of the council that runs this community here.
Yeah.
And there was a big scene that happened within this shot that you're seeing here, where she was looking out, is that you see all these refugees coming into the community. And Tommy is looking at the map of the location of the compound and talking about, well, we need to rebuild here. We need more materials, this and that. And we pretty much just can't let everybody in. And this becomes an age-old question, right? It's like, oh, refugee, let everybody in. Yeah, he says he wants to. But where do you put him?
And she reminds him too that that he was once a refugee.
Oh
It's at some point, and this happens with a lot of post apocalyptic kind of like
all of it. Yeah, almost every comic.
Keeping to yourself, keeping to your own. It's
because as much as you want to rebuild a community to get back to the normal way of life, you can't just do it overnight, because you need resources, you need housing, you need food, you need beds and stuff like that. You just can't.
And it's it's like, how do you turn them away, and how do you not create more enemies? Which is
and then that's the issue that's going on here, and that's the debate. So it is what it is. But we do see a new person involved in all this, and it's Benjamin.
His nephew.
So he has a nephew. I don't recall this from the I don't recall. But you know what? That's what I'm saying.
Family.
He's got family. The family dynamic has grown. So there you go. There's a kid involved. His name is Benjamin. I think they called him Benny or something like that.
Benjamin.
So he comes in the room. Joel puts him on a lap. He shows him the map, and he sort of explains things for if somebody. It's real subtle on how this conversation. If someone's like, "Wait, what's going on here?" and he just breaks down. He's like, "This is where we live. This is the fence. This is outside. There's the infected." There we go.
Well, this is this kid's new way of life, And, and if you look at the back of this image, you could see current patrol runs. They got a whole list of like who's doing what. So it's really, everybody has their shifts, almost like how Joel was used to in different, in different places that he's been in. So this is not just a one-off community. There's many communities in this world
Yeah, yeah,
that have this kind of
and
thing.
Maria brought that up. She was like, "These are people that are coming from failed communities, whether because of imploding, something happened, people fight. We've seen that, or maybe they just got overrun. Something happened with
Overrun,
infected.
power hungry leaders.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Tommy comes in, he sees his boy, the whole thing, everything is all happy go lucky, right? But this was a key scene, right? When
This
we
is a
get
big
to
scene, yeah.
big scene, because I'm still trying, and people go ahead, leave in the comments, because I didn't look this up. I didn't want to go down that road of looking things up after this, just in case. So this is the scene with Joel meeting with Gail, right? What was it that he gave her? He gave her some seeds, something as payment.
He gave her weed.
He gave her weed, right?
Yeah.
All right, straight
And
up
she
weed.
and she sniffed it and was like, this isn't, what I'm used to. This is the low grade stuff. Like,
There we go.
he's like, it's not in season, but she takes it anyways, which is
She takes
fine.
it as payment,
Yeah.
and so she's trying to help him out. But
But let's
go ahead.
add it's also her birthday, and
Oh yeah,
she was drinking a little bit before this session that she's gonna give Joel for therapy. So she's already kind of going at it with a little bit of
she's got a buzz going on. She's
yeah.
got a buzz, but then at the same time, she brings up the fact that this is also an anniversary. It's a reminder. Was it that the first birthday without her husband
Yeah,
Eugene?
over 41 years.
41 years, yeah, 41 years. That's a big amount of time. That is amount of time there. And so she's asking him some questions. It was like, what's going on? What just it's like, oh, I still don't know what I did wrong. And he's with the whole thing with Ellie. This is all about Ellie. He's trying to put it together. And then she's like, you know what? You're holding something back. I can't help you because you're not telling me something.
Yeah.
And you're not coming clean. And then she's like, no, I'm gonna come clean. She hates him. She hates Joel.
I did not expect that.
Yeah, people, if you know the story, please say it in the comment. And I wouldn't say it's a spoiler, because this is something that we need to know. People would like to know, what's the story with Eugene, because she says he killed Eugene. She understands why, so I'm assuming he turned.
Yeah, maybe.
Right, so he turned, and that's it. But she hates him for it, and that's the only thing I could think of, unless he purposely killed him, like they got into a fight.
And this is perfect because it also adds again to Joel's morality. It also adds to his reasonings, his drives. You know what I mean? It's another situation where he was put in a morally complicated situation that might affect people and their loved ones. What would he have done in that same situation? You know what I mean? It's and she presses him on it. She says, I just admitted something to you. Can you admit what's bothering? Did you do something to Ellie? Did you physically hurt her? No. And it looked for a second that Joel was going to say something, but he knows if he speaks, it's more than just that room.
Yeah, he can't. He come clean about this, because this would be too much. This would be too much. Because one of the other scenes that we had that was also in this episode, which was from the game, was that scene with Ellie when she's with Tommy and they're doing the sniping.
Yeah.
Remember the sniping training? That was a big part. That was a key part of the game also early on, when basically you're learning how to snipe from a distance.
Yeah. And she wants to be more in patrol, and Joel doesn't want her, obviously, because, protective reasons, but also she's immune. She's literally the only idea of a cure, or a source of an idea of hope, I guess they have. So
and nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
That's why I think he can't obviously tell Gail here in this situation, because
Yeah, he tears up. That was a fantastic scene. They zoom in to Pedro's face, and you could see like his eyes watering and stuff.
It was good filming.
He said, "Yeah." He's like, "I saved her. That's all I did. That was it." And oh man, it's tough. It's a tough situation.
I like this scene here because it's almost like the game where you would go to those tables and you would like
craft
your crafting tables. Like I didn't think about that at first, but I was like, oh wow, like a slight like little nod to the game in that.
Well, describe this. What's going on here?
So basically, Ellie is, I guess, working on her gun, right? And she's sitting here and she's waiting to go on patrol, because I think she's about to go on patrol with Dina.
Yeah, because that was the issue that with Tommy when she went out with Tommy, did the sniping, and she was like, "All right, I'm getting ready for patrol," and he was like, "No, you're gonna be on watchtower duty or something like that, right? Something with the
Yeah.
watch." And she was like, "No, I want to go for patrol." Like, "No, you can't do it." And she was like, "You know, I'm immune." He's like, "Shh, keep that." Like, I'm like,
And she starts yelling.
That's good. He's like, "Ah, who cares? There's nobody
She's
out."
such a free, like,
Yeah, yeah, she's
yeah,
fantastic. She was it Bella, right?
Bella Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah, Bella Ramsey. She does a great job playing Ellie.
And it's perfect because like hopefully and if and I'm assuming the show's going to do it justice, this arc of her growth right now we're seeing her being a little immature, being a 19-year-old, in this apocalyptic world where she has to find joy in this mundane stuff, especially after this whole trip that she just had with Joel. This lifestyle now is like what? So she wants to go on patrol. She wants some action, I guess.
She wants some action, and she's been training, and that's what they showed us at the beginning with the hand-to-hand combat. Now you see here with the gun. We saw with the sniper. She
Yeah.
feels that she's ready. So Dina shows up, says, "Oh wow, I'm coming along for the trip." And there we go. Now they're going to go on a trip. Now that also comes from the game, that moment. There was some other conversations that the two had discussed about Jesse when they were en route. Jesse was there. We found out that Kat is another member. I think that's all new also. I don't recall that
They
character.
also added a little more of, backstory for, Ellie's romances as far as like she used to apparently see Kat.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
And apparently they're the only two, I guess, open lesbians. Because remember, she was like, "Why would you think I was gonna go?" Because everyone's preparing for that party, the New Year's party.
Me, right?
And I was like, "Well, because it's just, it's like,
Yeah. Well,
it's
yeah,
really cool with that because of the subtle nods to some of these things. Because it's like, all right, well, this is telling a story. Like we know where Dina and Ellie's relationship goes at this point, but they're showing a little more of the back because this we didn't know.
yeah,
We didn't
definitely.
know about the cat situation. I mean, I'll get to when we get toward the end of this episode. It pretty much is sort of like the beginning of the story when they in the game where they mentioned Dina
Yeah.
and how they got together.
There's some like backstory stuff here, which I love that they're adding because the game kind of throws us into things, and this is kind of leading into it a lot better, which I think is
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah. So they go out on patrol, and the first thing they see is this dead grizzly, and there's all these infected around that are dead.
Yep.
Right, which is very interesting for a few reasons, and they bring this up. So they're like, "Oh, they took this grizzly down, and there's like a structure there, and you can hear that there's some infected inside." So I was like, "Oh, I guess someone in there." And Kat was like, "Well, let's just go back and report this because that's one of the things that Jesse had said. Hey, you're
Yeah.
a patrol. Just patrol. If you see one or two stragglers infected, fine, you can take them down. But if there's a group of them, get out of there. Especially if there's clickers, get out of there.
Yeah.
Come report. Then they go because originally that watchtower stuff that she was going to do was very similar to the game, which is pretty much what they did. Because in that part, they were doing the logs. Remember, they were checking in the logs, saying, "All right, came here at X date. This time, everything was clear. This and that." And that was it. But no, this is a different take on it, and I love it. This was great.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It was different, and Ellie's character coming into it like, no, I want to check. Let's go. Let's get these stragglers in there.
I wrote down the joke, right?
Yeah.
Because remember that was a big part of the pun line, the one-liner books that Ellie found, but Dana whips one out just off her top of her head, and she's like, "What do you call? Was it a dead grizzly?" Or grizzly barbecue.
No, barbecue.
Oh yeah, barbecue. That's right. Because it was a
Barbecue, and she looks at Ellie, and Ellie's like, "Did you just write that right now, or did you just come up with that right now?"
Yeah, you just came up with that.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, Ellie and Dina want to go inside, or more Ellie, I guess, and they climb on top of the truck. They go into this market, this old like supermarket, I guess, run down, padlocked walls on the outside. So they went onto the second floor.
And they take out the flashlights. The flashlights, very key because for those maybe that don't remember, if you're just watching in the show, the clickers, because they hear two clickers, right? They pay attention. You hear the clickers making their sound. They're blind. They go based off of sound. So it's okay for them to take out the flashlights and do that whole thing.
Yeah.
The clickers are just going off of sound. I love this scene because it shows him with the bottle, and if when you play, I don't. Again, I'm talking about parts with the game, but I'm not trying to
Totally
spoil
fine.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you know, what I mean, I'm just we're
yeah.
just pointing out the things that really stood out that were very much part of the game, and this was one of them. Where how do you try to set one up? Well, there's a bottle. Take the bottle, throw it. They were making the little gestures of like step, step, step. You know, it's like yeah. I'm gonna step, step, step.
And
You know,
I feel like jumping on the clicker and like stabbing has always been like so wild to me, but I guess that's
oh,
not the only way to do it.
at least, well, that was for Ellie. That was the way she did it. Of course, Abby has her own way of doing it,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, Ellie jumps on the back and she starts step, step, step. Everything is cool. Then Dina takes out the other one off camera, and then she comes back and she checks Ellie. She's like, "Did you get bit? Do I have to stab you in the face?" She's
You know,
like,
that
"No."
must be a question after every patrol for everyone.
Oh
Like, what do
yeah,
you
yeah.
you good?
Well, then that also points to that one quick scene when they were back at the house when Dina first showed up to pick up Ellie from when we were seeing with the gun getting ready
Yeah.
when she was checking all her gear. So I'm assuming that they put multiple layers underneath. So even if one does scratch or bite the arm or the neck or the chest here, it's still there's other padding. It's not
Which
going to
would be
get
smart,
crazy.
yeah.
You know.
So then after that, Ellie's, acting a little cool, in front of Dina, kind of showing off a little bit. And she walks a little more forward in the building and happens to fall through the ceiling of the building down below.
This is what I was curious because I wasn't sure. Did something open up from the side? It sounded like a
No,
door,
it's she
or it
I think
just it gave in. It just
she
the
stepped
floor
on
gave
yeah,
way.
she stepped on the creek, like it creaked, and then like she like looked and was just like, oh, and then just dropped down. Um, which makes sense, old building, wear and tear
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah.
But, and then now she's trapped in there, and our first question is she alone? Right?
Yeah, that's what Dina was asking. Now there is a part of this that was also in the game. The first time that it does happen, Dina finds something. It's like, here, I dropped this leg, now climb it up, and that's what it seemed like it was going to go in that direction, but it doesn't. It does a nice little twist, nice twist with this.
And I love the cinematography here because the camera's really just focused on Ellie's perspective and her just looking around and checking each aisle because as she's walking around, she starts hearing stuff, but nothing like too loud, nothing to really draw her attention. Um, and then you could see each aisle that she goes down, something crawling on each aisle. It was
Yes,
perfect. It was really good. Yeah.
very creepy, very
Yeah. I
creepy.
was like, all right, let's go.
Man, see, that's when we're older guys. We've seen we love horror
I
movies
love
and
horror
shows,
movies.
right?
Yeah.
We're always
Yeah.
talking about what it takes a lot to just get us to be like, oh wow, really full because we're
I
almost
was like,
immune to the whole
I was
thing.
like,
We're
it's gonna
numb to
bite
it.
her ankles. Like when the music starts stopping, and
Yeah,
like
it
all
stops.
the
They
telltale
zoom in.
signs.
They zoom in when on her feet as she's walking. You hear the creaking of the ground underneath of the dirt or whatever broken glass.
But what got me though is that when it reveals itself, she's like, okay, run at me, because
Yeah.
she thinks it's one of those runners. You know what I mean?
That's what they do,
Run at
though.
me.
They all do it. That when they're
Yeah,
infected, there's those typing in the clickers, and these usually just get up and run, and it does the total
does
opposite.
it? Yeah.
It takes off. It hides. Throws her off. She has her shotgun out. Now she's running after this thing, trying to
Now they're
track
both
it.
hunting each other, which is
Yeah.
different and something that she's never really prepared for, and you could tell. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Now she's like, what is happening? Um,
What's
and
happening
and
is
and
right.
and the beauty of this shot, and it kind of reminded me like The Ring, when like Samara would come out of
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
TV.
With the of the yep, yeah.
Yeah, because she walks, you see Ellie turn, and
Well,
now
even the Grudge,
yeah, the
because
garage.
of the noise.
Yeah, it's a mix of the two, low key, but it's like you see her arm just like creep out in the darkness, and you're just like, oh man! And yet again, she's making a lot of noise.
Yeah, it was.
So it's almost like treating Ellie like the clicker, like getting her attention so that she's
Yeah.
distracted. It was really cool.
Yeah, and then there's that one scene where we can hear it, and I was like, she has to know it's behind her.
Yeah.
For Ellie, it's like, how did she
Well,
not
I
know?
had the captions on. It was like subtle. It was like slight groans or whatever.
She
So
has to know, but then she does that quick turnaround and fires, and
nothing.
nothing there. And just the clicker, the infected just comes from the side, tackles her down. There's a whole fight. I was waiting to press the X button, like
QTE's like
right. It's like fight it back, fight it back. They're doing the whole thing, and it's got its hooks in. It's
I
scratching
held my
it.
breath for a second. I was like, "Oh, this is
Yeah,
cool,"
it's
and literally bites her.
yeah, bites her. She's able to take her sidearm out and shoot it, And then Dina comes down and sees that it's dead. It's like, it was only one. She's like, yeah, just this one. This is it. I was like, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then that was it. Then they leave.
Yeah.
But this is where they pretty much get in trouble.
Yeah.
They get in trouble for this. So in this scene, if you guys are seeing this, right, we got Tommy and Maria, and they're pretty much questioning Ellie and Dina on the situation. What happened?
And I'm assuming here it's like not so much that they're in trouble, because I don't think they broke any protocol necessarily. It's more or less they were just reporting this situation because, Ellie's over here telling them like, we got a stalker, we got something that was hunting me and following me quietly. We've never seen this before. And the council's a little bit skeptical. They're like, well, should we believe her? Because Dina didn't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And then that's the thing. It's like, well, are you saying that they're smart? They're evolving.
Yeah, they're evolving.
Again, that's new, people. That is new. That was not something that came up in the game. So this is great. This is something new. It's like, oh wow, are they? Because one, they clearly strategized to hunt down and take down that grizzly.
Yeah, because in the game there's a set of like enemy types. You know what I mean? And like
Mhm.
we know about the stalker ones, like they're in the game, but here to really have that idea of like labeling them, trying to understand them, and then bringing to that attention that it is an adaptation in their evolution. For the fungus to be adapting like that. So it was cool.
And is it possible? And they talked about it. I was like, well, maybe. Oh. But they
Should
asked,
leave it?
right, exactly.
She
Well,
told
they
the
asked
truth.
Dina. And it's like, did you see that? And Dina was like, yeah, I saw this. And then they're like, all right, well, you should have just backed out, told Kat and leave, which makes no sense because she fell in a hole. So
It's
there's no
unavoidable.
way.
Yeah.
It was unavoidable to have that conflict with
I think
the
the problem
fact
is that like they know that Ellie's actively looking like for something. You could tell that she's just ready for stuff, and
she
and
wants she
yeah,
wants the action.
and their idea is like, let's just keep everything close knit and keep everything the way it is, and
Mhm.
so, but it's inevitable. Something's gonna attack the fortress at some point. So, but yeah,
It's now right after this, there was a very important scene because they're getting ready to go to the New Year's party, right? That's the big deal.
oh yeah, there's a New Year's party happening
Right?
later. Yeah,
The New Year's party that's happening. Everybody's getting ready. We already know that I don't know if it was confirmed, but it looks like Dina was like, "Hey, I'll just go with you."
yeah.
With
Which
with
to Ellie
Ellie.
is nice because Dina had been dating Jesse for a long time, and according to the show, they've been on and off for a while,
Mhm.
and you could tell obviously that Ellie has an affection towards Dina more than just friendship, and so Dina being like, hey, let's go together. Obviously, that's something for Ellie. And in this scene, we see Ellie kind of chilling, almost getting ready. We also see
Now,
her in the bathroom.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was
Yeah,
like, I wish there was a screen for that one
yeah,
because that was an important scene right there because we see that she's cleaning up, she's getting ready, and that's when she shows that she's got these bite marks on the
nice
stomach.
bite mark right on the stomach, on the
Yeah,
abdomen, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, and then what does she do? She takes her knife, sterilizes it, and
yeah.
basically makes a different type of wound so that just in case it doesn't bring up any questions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very interesting. That was very interesting, and even the whole thing with Dina, the dynamic and what they're planning. And so I don't think at this point, and this was something that came up within the game when they brought the same type of conversation. They said the same thing about Jesse, Dina, on and off. They broke up. Uh, I don't think Ellie had the plan to like, oh wow, this is my opening to
yeah,
start a
it just
relationship.
came to her.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
this was like, no, this is my friend. She's willing to come with me because you broke up with Jesse. We're just gonna hang out at the party. It's not gonna be a big deal.
yeah.
So she's getting cleaned up. She's doing the whole thing. She goes back to her desk. She's writing something down.
She's
I
writing the
couldn't.
joke, the barbecue joke,
Yeah, the barbecue
or
joke.
the
There you go.
barbecue. Yeah.
She's putting together her own little joke book in the dark. In the dark. You know. But we also know that she lives in the garage. That was one of
Yeah.
the things that Joel had talked about to Gail. That when they were having their issues, he let her move in the garage. Now he never sees her.
Yeah.
So he comes to visit, sees her in the dark, and then he sees a guitar on the side, and he's like,
Avoiding the confrontation, avoiding
mhm.
just the straight up question, angsty teen syndrome. He grabs the guitar and he's like, oh, I gotta retune this. I'll see you in just nothing really happens here. But I think it's a great scene to just show this tension. Like they used to be able to communicate so well, and right now it's just like you can't even ask what's going
Yeah,
on, what's wrong.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
you think deep down Joel knows that Ellie, like, or do you feel like Joel just really just has no clue?
That's always been the tricky question. Does he know? I think a little bit, because at least it was brought up in the game, and maybe they'll bring it up
They
here.
definitely bring it up, yeah.
Yeah, that Ellie always felt that Joel was lying. Something just didn't feel right. She was like, I just don't understand. Everyone kept telling me how special I am special, and clearly I am special because she's getting bit, as we see here again. So if it was one time, okay, you got lucky. No, there's no luck involved in this. She is immune.
Yeah.
And maybe she feels that she could have done more for society.
Yeah.
Because remember before, she said if she had to die, she had to die, for
She
the
was down,
greater
she was
good.
ready, and that's very admirable. And
Yeah.
and Joel stripped that power away from her and stripped that power away from everyone. So, who knows? It's a giant what if. I would love if they did like a what if thing one day or something like
Oh yeah, if they did a twist
like an
on it, and it was
alternate
like
ending of like
an
what would have
alternate
happened. Yeah,
ending,
that would be cool.
that would be cool. So yeah, so he comes into the room, he sees the guitar. The guitar is a big part of the game. A lot of stuff goes on with the guitar, whether it's Joel playing it, Ellie playing it. There's a mini game to actually just play the guitar if you want.
Yeah.
So I was expecting that to happen. I was like, oh, he's gonna come, he's gonna play something, because
I,
there is that.
I think it's always been a reminder of their humanity. You know what I mean? It's just like out of all that chaos, it's like them and a guitar. Is any point in the story, any point in the game, is that feeling of like, okay, like let me settle and remind myself who I used to be.
Yeah. And but he doesn't. He says, "Oh,
He just takes
let me tune this up." When was the last time you played? I don't know. All right, I'll tune this up. No, leave it. No, I'll do it. And he leaves.
Awkward.
Very awkward. So there we go. So then
New Year's dance.
The New Year's dance. Oh boy, a lot happens at this dance. This dance, oh man, because if you remember when the game was first announced many years ago, I blanked on the year when Part 2 originally launched.
2020.
It was 2020.
Yeah.
Damn, feels like no,
Yeah.
sorry, no, it was even before that, because
Well, when
I'm
it was
thinking of
announced.
when it was first announced.
Oh,
This was the
2018.
scene. Yeah, because remember they showed a trailer. Some of the guys over at the Throwdown show, they went to the live event that Sony was hosting, and they showed this, and they showed the scene where they're both dancing. And at this, that was the first display of like, oh wow, we have a Last of Us 2 game coming.
Yeah.
It was like the reveal teaser or whatever. But this was big. There was a big scene here. Party, everyone's there. We got.
So Ellie's chilling at the bar. She's just, watching from afar as Dina's dancing, and Dina's basically the life of the party. You know what I mean? And
Jesse comes up.
Jesse's standing next to her like a sad ex, just admiring her. And Ellie's like, you're gonna be back with her in like a week or two, and Jesse's like, no, I'm not. And
yeah, he thinks it's done this time.
Yeah.
And what was that? Then she walks over to her. Then Dina was like, "Come on, let's dance."
Let's dance.
Dancing. We clearly see that she's drunk, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm also high." A slow song comes on. They're doing a slow dance together. Dina mentions that all these guys Ellie mentions all the guys.
Like, they're watching her.
They're all watching her.
She's like, no, they're jealous of you.
Yeah, they're jealous of you. That's a strong one right there. And then you can see on Ellie's face, because she's probably confused with a few things of emotions. Because yes, this is her best friend.
Yeah.
But then I'm sure she's
watching,
feeling. Yeah, everyone's watching. Jesse's watching. Community's watching. What's going on here? And she kisses her. Right. First, Dina kisses Ellie, and then Ellie kisses back.
And it's cool because when she kisses her, like her eyes are open. She's just like, "What is happening? Is this real right now?" Kind of thing. Is this like shock? And then as they get into it, it's like, okay, we got this going. We don't care about who's here, who's watching. And someone's watching, and
he's like, "Hey," he's like, "There's families are here." There's some of that effect. Now that guy comes up in the game. Remember, that was a part early on, and we'll get to right when this all happened. So then he calls him, an offensive term.
Yeah,
he calls him a slur, and then just Joel comes to the defense,
He came
pushes
out of
him aside.
nowhere and yeeted
Yeah,
him. So he came out
yes.
of nowhere. I was like, they didn't even show him even in the build. That's the one thing
No,
that was
I
just
didn't even
interesting.
know he was
I
there.
wish there was like a cut of like him just in the corner or just some. It was just so funny. He just came out of nowhere, just throw him down.
Yeah,
But
just threw him down, and they're like, "What's going on?" He was like, "Oh, I don't need your help." And Ellie getting back and forth with him, and this is it. This is the whole issue that she's having, is that she's out there trying to find herself, trying to be her own person, and she's got a father figure, or might as well say it's like the dad who's
yeah,
always there.
yeah,
She wants to
overbearing.
overbearing, wants to protect, doesn't want anything bad to happen. I'm a parent, I get it, but at some point you have to let them be themselves and
Yeah,
just take a step back. And it's hard for Joel, and I think it's because he lost his daughter,
yeah.
his first daughter, and
And Ellie knows that too, but it's like it's complicated, and Ellie turns at him and yells at him and in front of everyone, and
yeah,
it's really awkward. And then Joel leaves, and it's funny because as he leaves, you can see Gail, the therapist, sitting just like holding a drink, just watching, like
I was like, yeah,
she
what's
knows,
that?
she knows
She knows there's
something's
something
deeper.
more to it,
Yeah,
whatever it is. Yeah, it was tricky. So then after that, we see where Ellie is just walking home. It's
yeah,
dark, she's on her way back, and we see that Joel is on the porch playing the guitar. He
yeah,
picks the strings, he's playing, they make eye contact, and Ellie's like, nah, I'm not even going home. So she just takes off. She's like, forget it.
yeah. Goes right to bed.
Right? She goes, but go ahead. This is it. This is the end part. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So she leaves, and then the camera pans away, and we can see, I guess, like the plumbing system or the water system that's by
Yeah,
that.
well, there's some kids with sparklers.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, the
the
kids with
kids,
sparklers.
yeah, the kids drop the sparklers, and in the light of the sparkler, which is really cool shot, you see like twigs and stuff that are growing in like the vines of like this plumbing system that they got going on, and then you could see the cordyceps like slowly like morphing through. So you could just tell that
No,
stuff has reached their camp.
stuff as
This.
usually came. That was Abby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Abby because they show with all the rough.
No, no,
They
no.
were
That was like, yeah. So then no, no, no. So that shows that house, and then when they showed Abby later on at the very end,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
she's watching from afar because the
She's
kids are
watching.
celebrating New Year's,
Mm-hmm,
so they're
mm-hmm.
running around the place.
Yeah, yeah. So the question is she already in the community? Because
No,
it
no, no,
wouldn't be
no, no.
that
She was far from afar.
she was from afar. No, no,
She was,
I'm just wondering how. All right, so in the game when they showed this scene,
yeah,
they were over on like a cliffside,
yeah,
right? Because remember they were like one of her buddy that's part of the one that originally said he was going to help and all that stuff.
hmm,
You play that part where he's like, "Hey, take a look." You do this whole navigation around, and then he says, "Look at that community.
yeah,
There's a whole bunch of people there. If he's down there, we can't go. There's just too many. This would
hmm.
be an all out." So it didn't look that far in this one. That's why I wasn't sure if they were trying to say that she's closer than that, and she can see them. You know what I mean? She's seen the interaction with these people. She doesn't know that that's Joel, but maybe she
No.
suspects it. That's
So from what I saw from that last shot, it's pretty far.
it's pretty far.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Good.
she's
Good.
up on the hillside. Like it's nighttime. It's kind of dark, but like in the background, you see the town, just the town's lights,
Perfect.
and
All right. So they were going. All right.
it's actually the same. I believe the same mountaintop where Joel had the whole promise conversation in the beginning of the episode. So
All right.
it shows this like foreshadowing of how
Mhm.
they're going to prepare to get
Oh
Joel
man.
or find Joel.
Yeah. So I mean, that was it. This was a good show, a good
Yeah,
episode, I should say. So far, they're nailing it, not just for the connection, key connections, but also just the cinematography,
yeah.
just the acting,
The
just
music was
putting
good.
the
Music was nice.
music,
Yeah.
the sound effects, everything. Just it's entertaining. This
It
is a
made me
good.
want to boot up the game and play it again.
Oh
And
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
played
I
it
mean,
since 2020.
there's something about I love that game. I love the game. I was so happy that they ported it to PC so I could play it on the Steam Deck. I was even happier that it worked great on the deck. So I was like,
And
yeah,
the beauty of this story too is that it's just a genuinely great story. You know, our mom called me, right before the episode aired, and she's like, "Me and your father are watching this. We can't wait for." So, and then my mom's like, in her late 60s, like this demographic, this show is hitting everything. you don't have to
Yeah.
play the game. You don't have to be a fan of like zombie stories or whatever. There's so
Mhm.
much to offer in this
It's
story.
about humanity and
Yeah.
how humanity can survive something tragic like this, and how how people come together, how they fall apart, vendettas,
Yeah.
what's happening here. It's like, it's gonna be interesting still when we get to key moments that take place later on and how the show pulls it off. I'm looking forward to that. I have a feeling they're gonna change things up just because of just how we see
Yeah.
things
I hope
here.
so.
Yeah, I hope so too. But hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for
Thank
checking
you.
us out. Yes, we will be covering the entire season. So please consider subscribe, join aboard. We're going to be here. We're going to cover this. We're going to break it down and just have a good old time because we love this. We love The Last of Us, and all the shows that we're covering on this are all shows that we actually want to watch. So
Yeah.
this all works out in the long run for everybody. So again, thank you for everyone that tuned in. We'll be back for episode 2 next week. Peace.
Bye.